For this practice, if you could make your way to a sitting position and stretch your legs out in front of you, and you could use your hands behind you just for support. And if you bring your attention to your feet and maybe look towards your feet as well. And just whenever you're ready to begin, if you begin to spread your toes and take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, squeezing your toes and holding that squeeze for the whole of the exhalation. And then again, spreading the toes as you breathe in and squeezing for the exhale. See if you can get space between all of the toes on the inhalation. And on the exhalation, when you squeeze, see if you can pull the arches of the feet towards you, so like the arches of your feet are also contracting with the toes. And then, as you inhale and separate the toes and spread them, simultaneously reach the toes towards the knees. And then as you squeeze your toes on the exhale, lengthening the front ankles. So stretching the fronts of the ankles as you exhale. And as you inhale and pull the toes, spreading them towards your knees, reach the heels away so you stretch the backs of the ankles on the inhale. And you stretch the fronts of the ankles on the exhale. And as you do a couple more, see if you can notice as you're breathing whether your left nostril is clearer than the right or vice versa. Sometimes they're the same, they're equal, but usually one nostril is clearer than the other. So maybe just relax your ankles for a moment and then use your finger or thumb against your nose to breathe in through one nostril and then swap. Just so you can double check which nostril is clearer. And then if you point your toes up to the ceiling, and if your left nostril is clearer, then reach the toes or turn the feet so the little toe on the left foot reaches to the floor and the big toe on the right foot reaches to the floor. And if it's your right nostril that's clearer, go the other way. And then once you've reached them that way, reaching them as far away as you can, circle the feet round to the other side and then keep circling. So you're circling the feet kind of in the direction of your clearer nostril. And see if you can circle the ankles to their fullest capacity, so that you really get into the nooks and the crannies of the ankle joints as you move the feet around. And then if you change direction, so you do go the other way, but you start off going in the direction of the clearer nostril. Maybe trying to time that with the breath so that as you inhale, the toes are still reaching towards the knees, circling round. And as you exhale, they circle away from the knees. And then if you bring the feet to point up again and bring the legs together. And now as you breathe in, opening the soles of the feet out to the sides. And then as you exhale, see if you can try to get the soles of the feet to come towards each other. So it's a bit like the feet are like a book that's facing away from you, and the inside edges of the feet are connected like the spine of a book. So try to keep the big toes pointing to the ceiling. And notice as you twist the ankles one way and then the other, notice that you can maybe start to feel it up in your groins and your hips. So feeling the connection between the feet and the hips as you twist the ankles. And then if you relax the feet and the ankles and the clearer nostril side, so if your left nostril is clearer, take hold of the back of the left thigh or vice versa. And you could maybe lean back a little bit but keep your spine upright. And as you inhale, lifting the heel away from the ground so that the knee straightens and extends. And then as you exhale, bend the knee in towards you and close the knee joint on the exhalation. And if you keep repeating, inhale, extending the knee, exhale, flexing the knee, and then some of you might like to see if you can do that but without holding the leg, so it's a bit stronger. But for some people, that's a lot harder on the hip flexors, and that might not be great. If you're a runner, you might want to try to keep the hip flexors more relaxed with this one, keeping hold of the back of the thigh. So if you take a deep breath in and extend the knee joint, and then really reach the heel away from you as you lengthen the leg back onto the ground. Take a breath in and exhale to bring the other knee in towards you. Inhale, extend. And see if you can really have your focus of mental attention on the joint that we're working. So now we've moved from the toes and the ankles to the knee joint. And then we're going to go up to the hip. So if you breathe out and bring that foot, the knee towards you, and then place that foot on the ground. And then the first leg that you're working with, externally rotate it so that the leg is straight but the toes point out to the side. And if you lift that leg just off the ground and do little circles with the whole of the leg, so you're beginning to access now the hip joint, and then maybe circle the other way as well. Just breathing deeply as you do this one. And then if you place that leg on the ground, straighten it out, swap sides. So externally rotate the leg first and then lift it off the ground, and then little circles. And then changing direction. And then placing the leg down, taking the other leg back out, and take the legs wide, as wide or as not wide as you like. And again, start with the leg of the clearer nostril side. So if your left nostril is clearer, lean to the right hip or vice versa. Turn the leg, the first leg that you're working on, in so that the toes are pointing to the other foot, and drag the leg across, and that's on the exhale. So then sit down, turn the leg out, inhale and drag the leg out. So as you exhale, turn the leg in, leaning into the opposite hip and drag it across to the other foot. And then as you inhale, turn the leg out. Make sure you do the internal or external rotation first before you drag. And with this one also, you can make it a bit stronger by having the leg drag off the ground. But still, really try to get the rotation first before you move the whole leg. And it's quite strong. So if you drag the leg out, place it down, lean into that hip and start with the second leg. So turning it in, breathe in, and as you exhale, drag it over to the other leg. Inhale, externally rotate and drag it out. So we're working with the hip joint, maybe taking or having a go at doing it off the ground. And then if you inhale, turn it out, drag it out, and then keeping the legs wide, lace the fingers together, take a breath in, and as you exhale, reach towards your clearer nostril foot, and then circle round to the other one, and then come back upright, letting the hands come past your chest and circling again. And as you keep circling in this direction, see if you can lean towards the tailbone as you go back. Lean into the hip. And as you come round, try to get the pubic bones towards the ground, closer to the ground, before you lean to the other hip. I quite like to inhale as I lean back and let the hands pass the chest, and then exhale from foot to foot. But then, of course, breathe in to come back and then change direction. And then if you come into the middle, take the hands behind you, bring the feet flat on the ground, and if your left nostril is clearer, fall the knees to the right, so you sit on the right hip and the left hip is more free for what we're going to do, or vice versa. So if you have the foot close to the buttock and the other foot close to the knee, take the hand on the ground of the hip that's on the ground, and then the hip that you're working with, your first hip, squeeze that buttock, lift the hip, leaning into the opposite hip, and turn and look behind you and take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, sit back down again, or sit down as much as you can, and do quite a few of these ones. Some of you will benefit from squeezing the buttock of the hip that you're working with and keeping it squeezed for the whole of the inhale and the twist, and then relaxing that buttock as you sit down. And there's a few people who benefit more from not squeezing, from just seeing if you can turn and twist and release, using as little muscles around the hips as possible. But for most people, I think squeezing the buttock all the way up to the lower back, squeezing that whole side as you inhale is helpful. So see what feels good for you. getting into a rhythm and seeing if you can contain your awareness within the pelvis. If you'd like a deeper twist, you could begin as you breathe in and lift the hip. You could begin to take the hand further round behind you just to make it a stronger twist. And then if you sit back down, and your hips might be skew-whiff, but keep them, just sit down comfortably, and then inhale to stretch up. And as you breathe out, squeezing the buttocks, squeezing the anus into the pelvic floor, gathering the pelvis under, you could take the chin to the chest. And then as you inhale, release and stretch back up again, lifting the chest and filling the lungs. And as you breathe out, squeeze the buttocks. See if you can squeeze all the way into the pelvic floor and the pubic abdomen. And some people quite like to maybe blow or hiss on the exhalation, just to accentuate and deepen the potential for the pelvic floor strengthening. But remember to release the pelvic floor completely as you breathe in. So it's not about making the pelvic floor strong in a rigid way, but strong in a mobile way. So try not to let there be tension, but also a sense of release as you breathe in. And then if you come back upright and swap sides, so sitting on the other hip, turn the feet to the other side, so keeping the foot by the buttock and the other foot by the knee, lean into that hand and that hip so that you can lift this hip up as you breathe in, squeezing that buttock all the way up and twisting, looking behind you, and then as you exhale, release and come back down. Again, seeing if you can contain your awareness within the pelvis. And then if you exhale and sit back down and do the second part. So you could have the hands on the ground if you need a bit of support for your back, or bring your hands on the pelvis and take a deep breath in, lifting the chest and filling the lungs. And then as you exhale, start by squeezing the buttocks, the anus, into the pelvic floor. And as you gather the pelvis under, try to squeeze the navel in so the pubic abdomen feels contracted. And then breathe in to stretch up. Remember, you can accentuate this one by blowing or hissing on the exhalation. So maybe just do 2 or 3 more, but for the last few that you do, again, see if you can contain your awareness within your pelvis. And then if you take a breath in and come upright. Now, stretching your legs out, you could just lie down on the ground. You could lie down with your legs extended, or you could lie on your back with your feet flat if you prefer. Or if you happen to have a bed nearby, or a sofa or a chair, you could sit sideways to the bed or chair and then come down onto your shoulder, and then hopefully you can more easily roll onto your back. And if you can get your lower legs on the bed so the backs of the knees are right against the edge of the bed, maybe have your hands on your belly. So this part of this ancient practice that we've been doing, which is slightly adapted, I have to say I added a few more things in, or a couple of things in. This part of Pawan Muktasan works with the energy between the feet and the pelvis. And if the hands and the arms are the wings of the heart, then the feet and the legs are the wings of the pelvic space, or the connection that we have through our legs to the ground. In yoga, the ancients associated this part of the body with an energy called apana energy. And apana is the downward flow from the pelvis to the feet. So it's about elimination, menstruation, birth, but also about connecting this part, the pelvis, to the ground, to the earth, and having our feet firmly planted on the ground. So even though the legs are raised, or if your legs are on the ground, either way, seeing if you can bring your attention to the feet, and just as a meditation, scanning as you breathe in from the feet up the legs to the pelvis. And as you breathe out, scan the awareness from the pelvis all the way down to the feet. And see if you can do that for several rounds of breath. So hopefully the movement part of the practice released tension or stiffness in the joints between the feet and the pelvis, so that the nadis, or the meridians, or the rivers, the lines of energy can move more freely through the joints. And here we're now moving the energy of attention, so kind of assimilating that practice more so with our mind and heart and intention, and our physiology with the breath. So inhaling from the feet to the pelvis, exhaling from the pelvis to the feet. Maybe just do 2 or 3 more rounds of breath, inhaling from the feet to the pelvis, exhaling from the pelvis to the feet. Again, seeing if you can really focus your mental attention on moving the awareness up and down the legs. And then you could stay exactly where you are, just to end with a brief meditation. Or if you'd prefer to do the meditation sitting, then carefully and slowly and mindfully make your way up to sitting. If you like, you could bring your awareness, or your hands, to form a downward pointing triangle, which you could place on your lower belly, but it's not necessary, it's only if you'd like to. And just take a moment to consider that if the gift of the heart and the heart area is gratitude or joy or love, or your heart speaking, your inner voice, if the gift of the throat area is to speak the truth, or to have discretion, if the gift of the head and the sort of energy centers, the chakras in the head, would be to have a spacious mind or a peaceful mind, if all of these parts of our body have certain gifts that they're associated with but by the ancients, then take your awareness deep within your pelvis and just consider for a moment what could be the gift of the sacral area, the back of the pelvis or deep within the pelvis. What could that gift be? And I don't think there's any right or wrong. I think there's probably many gifts, and the gifts that you might connect to could be personal to you. But perhaps along with any gifts that you may notice or you may not, see if you can also go deep within the pelvis and see if you can connect to a sense of homecoming, or a sense of belonging that perhaps connects you to the ancestors from the past. And even if we don't have children, the potential that we have as human beings for the ancestors in the future, if that makes sense. So the potential for that, even if we choose not to have children, just being aware of the capacity that we have as human beings to be connected to where we belong through people in both the past and the future, and a sense of belonging and coming home to yourself. ready to release. And seeing if you can maintain a sense of connection to yourself as you gently open your eyes in your own time, coming back, maybe touching the ground, making sure that you're grounded before you make your way up and on to carry on with the rest of your day or evening.